Okay, so we're going to start in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So Sharky, tell us a little bit about what you want to talk about today. I know we don't have a guest speaker, but there's certainly something Sharky wants to talk about. So.
Yeah, so the way I kind of envision this is like a support helpline, so that people can just ask questions about their problems and issues that they have about their business. Oh, there's an echo coming in from people, so you could put yourself on mute, or you're watching Facebook. That would be great. Yeah, so people just ask questions, and then other entrepreneurs can provide answers as we go. And as we get more momentum, we'll have more and more entrepreneurs, more and more people coming on and helping each other. And we do this once a week. That's my thought. And once we start going, we can start having kind of guest speakers or guest topics that we can have to help entrepreneurs. And I think last week's format was pretty good. So I think when we start, we can start having certain people that have issues that they want people to help them out with. I know that with this week, there was supposed to be someone that wanted to help with. I don't think we had the chance to get in touch with her to schedule her in. But there are a lot of people who want kind of people to talk about their business. So yeah, is that clear?
Yes. Well, certainly I've come across a lot of people on here on this platform who want to really reach out to other other professionals who've been in their place, who've been in that stage of just starting a business, and we're all here to learn from each other. So if you're sitting in the audience, certainly don't be shy, raise your hand and come up here, ask your questions. If you're an entrepreneur just starting out a business, or if you're thinking of if you have an idea you're not sure of and you want to kind of check your idea with other people who have the entrepreneurial mindset, come up here and give us your pitch.
Awesome. So let's get started. So everyone on Facebook, how many people have on Facebook watching? There are 6 people on Facebook watching us. Great. Hello. And for everyone that's on Facebook, if you have any questions, just type it into the comment section. Give us a like, a heart if you hear us. And if you have Clubhouse, click on the link in the description there, and you can come join us in Clubhouse. But you can ask us questions, and then we will ask out into the group in Clubhouse, as well as feel free to give us any responses as well. And then we will tell the group your response. Your response live.
I'm just taking a minute to add a few more people into the room.
Okay. So yeah, the format of this is very simple. It's the Entrepreneur Support Hotline. Feel free to ask questions that you have. Let us know what questions you have about your business, where you are. And people in the group will be able to
help you point in the right direction,
or make a
or
referral, or
recommend someone to help you.
So, yeah. So if you are on Facebook, feel free to type in your questions in the comment section. I am monitoring that now, and this is pretty new. This is really new. Just figure out the technology, and once we have things figured out, we can start getting momentum. So we only have how many people? 7 people on for now, but once we get going, I could see for us to have hundreds, hopefully someday thousands of people in there.
Absolutely.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Sylvia.
Yeah, so I do have something as like an emerging entrepreneur. So I've had, I have so many ideas that I've jotted down over the years and trying to balance it with movements in my career. And as I spoke about on our last session last week, I had done market research for one of my ideas, and it did show proof of concept. I was going to start executing it. I had looked into vendors and started to do some research on locations. But then I had a career change and had to focus on that. I know that's not very entrepreneurial because an entrepreneur goes all in, but I'm trying to balance it all. But it worked out for the best because the pandemic would have completely wiped that out. I know I probably wouldn't have recovered, and I'll probably be able to actually start this a lot sooner than had I started earlier and having to recover. But what I do have a question about, and I'm wondering if to show proof of concept experience with this, is I'm really reluctant to share my ideas with people, even like with mentors, because some of my ideas are quite innovative, and I'm worried about people like kind of running with the idea that probably have more resources to get it up and running a lot quicker than I do. And I know like about NDAs and stuff. But I'm just wondering, have you guys ever experienced it, or how do you kind of get around that hump mentally? Or is there some way that you go about that to share and to be able to have a mentor to grow that idea?
Well, first off, I want to address one thing that you said about working and on the side trying to do something. I've certainly been in that position before, multiple times, like starting off new projects on the side of doing my daily work, and that's something that is normal. It's natural to do that. You want to have an inflow of income before you branch off into doing your own thing. So, it's totally fine to do that. But aside from that, Sharky can add a little bit more about how it is to go about finding the right mentor and to get over the hump of, starting off into a new kind of business venture. Sharky?
So my thinking behind not sharing your idea, so I'd like to address that first, and I think that will affect the answer to the second question, is that for any long-term entrepreneur, they can 100% relate to what I'm saying. And it's not an opinion, but it's kind of a belief that's shared by people who've experienced it, is that I had this exact same thought at the beginning. I would hide all my secrets, hide all my ideas, because they're just pure amazing, right? So a couple of issues that's wrong with that. One is that the majority of success comes from implementation. That's number one. Number two is that there are two types of people. You can categorize two people, right? People who's less entrepreneurial than you, and people who are more entrepreneurial than you. Those people who are less entrepreneurial than you will hear your idea and they would not take action. They'll be too lazy or just not in them to take action, right? So those people, you share your secret with them, they know it doesn't matter. Number one. Now, those people who are more entrepreneurial than you, let's say a millionaire, okay, or multimillionaire, they're so much more advanced than where you are. They're not going to spend the time stealing your secret, because for them, they already have the next $10 million, $100 million idea. So they will not even put the time, effort into actually stealing your idea. That's number one. So people are not going to steal your idea. So back to my first point about implementation. The more you share with people, the more feedback you get. So when you have an idea to implement it, there are so many different pieces you need to get right. When you share your secret or your idea with other people, they help you in so many different areas and even help you pivot. Like, I've had a lot of ideas where I share with someone and they either add it and move it up to a better idea, or they told me it's a bad idea, or they told me it's a good idea and told me to focus on a few points. So I think number one is that you need to share. You should share with as many people as possible. So I have a lot of great ideas, and I share all of the time. Most of them I don't have time to implement. Other people implement them. Does that answer your question, or do you want me to go into further about the mentors?
I think it does, but I think also we need to be mindful, like non-disclosure agreements exist for a reason, right? Like people do take ideas, and as much as I appreciate, somebody might tell me if it's a good or a bad idea. Like I said, I've done my due diligence through market research to show proof of concept initially.
It depends on what stage you're at, and if you bring an NDA to an investor,
yes,
or to a mentor,
yes,
depending on the stage, most of the time, if you haven't implemented it, they would laugh at you. That's from my experience, and that's what I'm told. And if someone comes to me and say, Sharky, I want your advice, but I want you to send this NDA, I'll just laugh and say, no, don't waste my time.
right.
Sylvia, is this something that you can maybe take to a certain degree and see it out on your own a little bit before involving other people? Or is the upfront costs, or the upfront time that you have to put in, is that too much to put in before you get to the stage of wanting to share it with people? Because one way to go about doing it is, take the idea from the pen and paper stage to, okay, I am now laying the groundwork for what I want to get done. And then at that stage, you're already into it. You're already ahead of whoever is going to steal your idea, let's say. And, you have a better chance of succeeding at it. But at the same time, you would be more ready maybe to share the idea and get feedback on what you're doing. But you're already progressing through it, Is that something you're willing to do? Or is that not possible with the type of idea that you have?
I think actually that's a good point, Negin. I definitely, for this one particular idea that I had started to action, I have the amount of capital required to start on my own. In terms of long term, I would need investors to expand the business, but that is a good point. I could definitely start it. But, with other ideas, I have one invention, but then I'd have to get a patent, and that's about.
I'm dying to hear about that. You've mentioned it to me a couple of times now. And I'm like, an invention just sounds so intriguing. I really want to hear about it. So get that patented as soon as possible.
I know.
I can't wait.
$100,000. I've gotten some connections to patent lawyers and stuff, but to get a full out patent and get all your prototypes, it's a good chunk of capital, and so I have to prioritize how to utilize it. But yeah, thanks.
Of course, that makes sense.
So we have a comment from Jennifer James through Facebook. Oh, so Facebook, we have 7 people. Ooh, 7 people watching us. Thank you. So Jennifer James says, I've been there too, working full time, starting a business. They do exist. I'm assuming she's referring to the NDA, but they don't actually truthfully stand up in court most times. So it's more of a mindset thing. So I actually had a meeting with some VCs, and before the meeting we mentioned a bit about signing NDA, saying about the NDA, sending the copy. But when we met, nothing was signed, and I just told them everything about the industry. So the way that I look at it, even with my business, has been some pretty innovative technology. I am selective who I kind of mention to, but I mention to a lot of people in the industry to get feedback for it as well. So the way that I look at it is that it's like a cycle. The more feedback you get on something, the better it improves. So my whole mindset is the velocity of feedback that I can get. We have the NDA. Just by physically getting to sign it, it slows down the feedback loop velocity, and you have some great people, really busy, smart people who don't want to spend the time and money or the time to go through that, right? So for me, I'm just thinking that, okay, well, people steal my secret, yes, but I want to get that feedback velocity as fast as possible. So that's just my mindset on it. And with regards to the mentor thing, I would highly recommend finding someone who's been through it. Maybe they'll better advise you because they'll know the industry. That's number one. And the best way I've discovered is actually to go through Facebook groups. That's been really effective for me. I've been a part of a few groups and I found some really great people. And also in the Toronto Entrepreneurs and Startup group, I found some great people that's helping me out. And you'll be surprised on how much people are willing to help you out and the great talents that you find in these groups.
That's great advice, Sharky. Yeah, to look into groups, because I have found that to be successful in other areas of my life that I've had interest in. So yeah, maybe I'll start looking at that. It is a very niche business that hasn't been innovated over the years, and that's why I'm so reluctant to share, because nobody's done anything with it really at all. So
Jennifer James had a message here. Give a shout out.
Go ahead.
She said it slows the trust building with your partners when you ask for an NDA out of the gate. Love feedback loops.
Right, that's a good point as well.
Anything else to add before we take a question from someone else?
Yes, actually. You mentioned that no one else is looking into this idea. That to me, I don't know. I don't know the idea, so forgive me for jumping in and saying this, but is there maybe a reason why no one's looking into it? Is there, like, I don't know, some downside to it? Is there another reason? Could be a huge upfront cost, like we talked about before. But have you looked into the downside of it at all, Sylvia?
Sorry, yeah, that's a good point, Negin. Not that I don't know. Maybe some people are looking into it. I just know nobody has done anything with this. I've seen similar models around the world, but nothing to the scale that I'm thinking. The capital is actually quite low needed to start the business. So it's really not a huge risk. And there are only certain communities or markets that would be able to support this idea. So big metropolitan cities. I have looked at the downside. Well, especially with this pandemic, it's an eye opener, but this is like not a once in a lifetime, unfortunately, but
yes,
it's not, a very common thing. But otherwise it does create value for people. Again, like I did market research through in-person interviews with about a dozen people. And it did seem like they could use this service and they would be interested. And we talked, like I had identified price points that they would be willing to bear, that the market would be willing to bear, and had compared that with the costs required to run the business. So yeah, I'm not sure. There could be a reason, but I had looked into a pretty global picture about it.
I think the more scarier part is not people stealing your idea now, is that when you launch and someone steals your idea then. The whole philosophy with companies is that you don't want to be the first person in a category. You want to be the last person in the category. Facebook was not the first; it was the last in social media. So the thing that you need to be aware of is that once you launch and you do see traction, that's when the copycats or people see the idea. That's when they come in. And now your thinking should be the same idea now is how to if it is a good idea, and when people copy you, how do you go as fast as possible to beat them? That's more of the competition is.
Right, that's also a good point. And so at that point, I do have a plan to grow the business once it establishes a brand. But yeah, you're right. To be able to execute it quickly, I would need like investors in a proper round, again, of capital to build it before others. But yeah, anyways, I'm not going to share too much. But yes.
That's okay. We really appreciate you bringing up this topic because, yeah, again, like I said, there are a lot of people on this platform who are looking to start off their business, and they don't know how to do it or how to go about doing it. So it's a great question. Thank you for asking that.
And Greg also has a note here from Facebook. He said even with patents and trademarks, big companies will still try to take a small unknown entity out. Can be absurdly costly, legal costs. Yeah, so even if you have the trademark and then they want to take you out, they'll take you out. Right? That's Greg's comment.
That doesn't help, Greg.
You're not helpful, Greg. That's right.
It's true though. It's always the bigger guy on the block wins, right?
It's just like reminds me of those hoverboards. So when the first hoverboard came out, it was when you stand on your leg before you stand before you put backwards. So I think those were like $400 or $500 or $600, like thousands of dollars when it first started, and then China started knocking it off so quickly that it's crazy. And they brought the price down from I think like several $1,000s to like hundreds of dollars, and it was just an engineering hack that they did. So instead of paying like thousands of dollars for the board, do it for like hundreds of dollars. And Greg said, just know from previous experience. So he's been there.
Well, thank you, Greg.
Okay, great. Anyone else have any other questions? Have questions about the business they'd like to share?
Anyone from
I
Facebook?
just would like to say.
Go ahead, Hermano.
It's okay, sorry. No, I just would like to add, just be careful about the timing. I don't know how long this idea takes to implement it, like Sharky advised to try to implement and to do first. So just be careful about the timing, because some innovative or some good ideas, I know there is nobody, I know that we were worrying, Sylvia, about sharing or someone get your idea, but just be careful about the time. I don't know how long, but I saw some business and painting about patent, but try to get into and start. I don't know how long it will take, but just be careful about the time.
Thank you, Hermano.
Okay, great. Any other questions from anyone about the business? Feel free to chime in here if you're on Clubhouse.
I see Fred joined the stage. Hi, Fred.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for joining us tonight. Do you have any questions for the panel?
Thanks for getting me up here, Sharky. I don't have any questions, but I do see that Sylvia was mentioning patents heavily and the process around that. One thing I could give as a suggestion, working within shred industry specifically for patents and so forth, You'd be really surprised based off the industry or based off what you're doing, Sylvia, well, how much government funding is available out there to kind of help you with the research and development process. One thing that you should look at, and again, you would need more details on what the idea is, but you could for sure look at hiring grants and everything in terms of technical talent that you could get to help you with the patent as well.
Oh, that's good to know. It's in waste management. So
sustainability, that's big. That's a huge one.
yeah, it's true. So how would you go about like finding grants for programs like specific to that?
So initially what you want to look at from any point, and it is a really helpful tool, is Google. You'd be really surprised by looking at Waste Management Grants Canada, what you can see as a landscape. And then there are individuals like myself or companies like myself that kind of help out with more of the applications and I'll process later on. But initially, to get an idea of what type of funding is out there, Google is your best bet. Another place that you would want to look at, or any of the entrepreneurs here, they've just recently did a name change, but the Ontario Centre of Innovation. Come April, because that's when government fiscal year starts, you should see from April to May a lot of different programs that will arise targeting what the government's looking at. And surprisingly enough, waste management, if you're looking at technology, Sylvia, specifically, Sustainable Development Technology Canada, which is called SDTC, they're a big tool as well. It just might be a bit too high of a grant, but they might have some smaller ones coming up around April that could be relevant.
Oh, that's great, Fred. I'm writing that down.
Glad to help.
I just wanted to add too that Sylvia, you can look for grants for women. That's a big one these days.
Thanks, Jeff.
There seems to be a lot of grants out there.
Welcome to Canada.
Yeah, Sharky, that's a funny thing because there is, but however, it's just the paperwork involved to navigate it. We've had this conversation. It's just so hard that startup entrepreneurs don't tend to take full advantage of it.
Yeah, I applied for one long time ago. It was such a hassle, and I didn't get it. But it was just such a hassle and so much work. It was just like it's like raising money just distracts you from your business. I hope other ones are a bit easier.
I think the biggest key is for entrepreneurs in general, working with them. Like, I'm not an entrepreneur myself, and I should say this, but having the conversations on a day-to-day, that grant until you get the funds is not a high-impact activity. So it's really, is it worth it to go through all the process? Now, once the funds are received, then it can create and generate high-impact activities. And I think entrepreneurs always have that struggle of, is the time worth it, really?
For sure. So I'm going to share a little secret with you guys because you guys are tuned in. I usually charge money for this secret. It's a little bit gray, kind of a little gray hat thing. So a friend of mine, he's from New York City, and he had a media company. And what he did was that he partnered up with a company in Nova Scotia. And he told me that he made this recommendation. I didn't listen to him. I should have. That the company he partnered with, they had, I think, 2 people full-time applying for grants in Canada. And he told me they made more revenue from the grants in Canada than they did as a company as a whole, either business. And it wasn't like a huge business. It wasn't like a huge business, but I would probably say like in the millions of dollars. So that's what the advice he gave me was to spend more time on grants than on revenue. Right? That was his advice.
Hi, Sharky. It's Sasha here. How's it going?
Good. How about you, Sasha? Thanks for joining.
Good. Yeah. So I have a lot of experience with Shred too and grants, and exactly what you said. I had friends who just started up companies and they were just doing grants, making money off the government, just doing grants, and it doesn't have to work, right? You just have to show that you're trying to do something different and innovative. And if you do the right paperwork, you get paid. So if you do the model right, you can just make money just doing grants, you know? So,
we don't recommend that as entrepreneurs.
Of course not. Of course not.
But it does help.
I think the best part of grants and Shred and all this depends which time your company is at. So if you actually have employees, and you have at least like 10 or 15 employees and you carry a good payroll, that's usually the best time to go for these type of stuff, because a lot of them are all leveraged with employing people, right? So I think for most people who want to take advantage of like Shred or all these grants, or people who actually employ people, if you're an entrepreneur who's just starting up, they won't help you that much because you're not employing people. So that's something you should just keep in mind.
So sorry to chime in on that one, but I think there is a difference though of like when we look at Shred versus grants though, right? Because Shred is payroll taxes back. We're looking at that, but grants, I think there's a whole landscape based off of wherever your business is. Some just might not be as helpful to work with. Like there are $5,000 grants out there. Funny enough, CAP, which is Canadian Agricultural Partnership, they were running a grant that if you were practically like a food company or a farm or anything online, if you're looking to take your business online, they were funding around 10 to 15,000 for just the e-commerce standards of it. So it really comes down to, I think, for grants to separate completely from Shred, because Shred, yeah, you're right, it's payroll back. But grants, it could be really dependent on your business, your stage, it all fluctuates.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's I'm just saying, based on all the grants and all the help I see, a lot of the programs are the ones who dish out the money. A lot of them are just based on having employees, and I guess that's like the initiative from the government. You know, they want to push people to employ people. But like you said, for grants, there's all types of grants for people who are first-time entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs. There's a whole bunch of them. You just have to take the time and look for them, and like you said, just do all the paperwork.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. So does anyone else have any other kind of questions? I'd like to bring up a fun topic. If you don't have anything else from anyone that wants any pressing matter in your business that you want help in, post here on Facebook. Here, looks like there's quite a bit of activity here on Facebook. Post on Facebook if you have any questions about your business for this week, or if you are here in the group, feel free to chime and ask the question.
I just wanted to add that I don't think anyone is less of an entrepreneur if they accept grants. If you're eligible for money, shoot for it and take it if you get it.
100%. 100%. Anything that helps. Even the big companies like Shopify and all these big companies, you'd be surprised at the hundreds of millions of dollars that they get. The government wants to fund Shopify, wants to give them more money because it's like it's a tech darling, right? The company. If you look at Ram Hotel, I'm pretty sure they receive quite a bit of money from the government.
Even that article that you posted in the Facebook group, Sharky, about General Assembly Pizza getting $13 million in funding.
Who was the money from?
That was a series. I think that was a Series A round, though. Okay, I think they did an investor round, VCs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Series A.
Yeah.
But I mean, whether it comes from investors or whoever, like it's still not from the perspective of, oh, this person got it all from their target.
No, I completely agree with that, Jessica, because when I speak with large companies, I speak with companies of all sizes, and the large ones, they normally have their grant, their government funding opportunities, right, their ducks in the row, like they have it all packed down. So they take advantage of this really heavily versus the small companies that should be, or small business and medium-sized businesses. They just kind of think the landscape is too big or not worth it enough to explore, and I think you should be exploring grants 100% as small to medium.
Yeah, there was a friend of mine who told me about a government grant and how you can start a whole business based on that grant. They give certain rebates for a certain type of training, and they say that there's businesses that you can start to take advantage of that grant. So, and I mean, like, this benefit, right? I mean, there's only a certain percentage you get from the grant, but you provide value to the business that you create as well. So, okay, so let's move to our next topic. So I'd like to know, everyone here, what's your biggest win of this week? like to chime in?
If time management counts.
So what
I was on top of that.
What did you do in particular for this week, or how did you measure it with the success?
Just for me, lately it's all been about routines, having a daily routine, and sticking with it because of, just staying at home, staying in the same room all the time. It's hard to keep up sometimes, right? It's hard to stay motivated in a way. So time management, in my opinion, is a key thing to help you stay on top of things, to help you continuously stay motivated. And so for that reason, I made a note to basically be more aware of how I'm spending my time. Yeah, just having a schedule, writing things down, telling myself I will finish a certain task, whether it's personal or work or otherwise. I telling myself I will finish this task within 30 minutes, then move on to the next one. And it's allowed me to basically have more free time for myself, which is nice, to do other creative things. So yeah, that's my win of the week.
So time boxing.
Exactly.
Yeah, nice. Anyone else like to add?
Annie here. I think for my win of the week is I basically made a really new connection off of Instagram. I have my own small business. It's called Evo Bottle, like EVOL. So it's a reusable water bottle. And like when I first started my company, I thought to myself, I want to, manage the distribution channel completely via my online website and use it as the sole place for me to sell my products. But once I started my business, I realized, it's better if I keep my options open and keep my mind open, because there are so many opportunities out there to collaborate with, platforms or other even small business owners. So this one girl, she reached out to me, I guess 2 weeks ago, and she said she wanted to start her own kind of gift bag, gift box type of product, sort of small business where, you would curate a gift box with specific items for different occasions. And she wanted to see if I'm willing to sell my products to her at a wholesale price and, collab through that sort of online channel. And I was, taking some time considering the opportunity, but I decided ultimately that I was going to collab with her, and I sold, I think, to her like 15 bottles as the first kind of, shipment. And she'll obviously put together the gift boxes and sell it through her channel. So I think to me it's a win, because I've learned to, keep my options open, keep my mind open, and be open to different, small business collab opportunities. I think it's really great, especially at this time. There's so many small businesses out there, and it feels really great even to support each other and support other brands as well through this time. So to me, that's my little win of the week, I guess. So yeah, that's me. My story.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I hope that it'll, flourish into something even greater for the both of us. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. So.
Yeah, congrats, Annie.
Thanks, Sylv.
Congrats, Annie. I think it's really important to keep your options open, like you said. Sometimes we would feel like we have to do everything on our own, but definitely getting a hand with, with distribution, I think it's going to enable you to grow your channel much more quickly.
For sure. And it's so interesting that, I'm still really selective, because there are a lot of people, there are people reaching out like from other continents, and they want to, buy my stuff and sell it on my behalf. Like that type of opportunities, I'm like, I'm not ready for that, and I don't even have the resources to check how valid they are. But definitely, keeping my options to my mind open has definitely helped a lot. And I saw an email. This was like half a year ago from that, and I don't even have the resources to check how valid they are. Which I've never even heard of. I actually thought it was the League video game, right? So I was a little bit skeptical, but he reached out. He wanted to talk, so I actually decided, you know what? Let's chat. Let's see what this is about, and it turned into a really great opportunity for me to actually showcase my products on this platform called League, which is I guess you would describe it as a third-party healthcare sort of health benefit organizer sort of website. So what happens is when you have your health benefits from your employer, they would hire League to platform, and you could spend your health benefits on like different services and even buying different products. This is where my bottle comes in. So like opportunities like that, I think it's so crazy how when you say yes to things and when it's somewhat of a valid and legal looking sort of opportunity, it's like, yeah, like give it a try. You could actually get to a lot of places that you never even imagined you could. So
yeah, that's great.
Congrats, Annie. I'm actually familiar with League, and that's amazing. Like, I know they're a decent ton of users and such, so really congrats on that one.
Thank you. Yeah, for sure. I was really happy that they reached out. I mean, I didn't even hear about them before, and it seems like they're, doing something really amazing for the healthcare and, health benefits for Canadian employees. I mean, they're in the States too, from what I hear, from our chat. So I think League is going to be really big in the future, and I'm actually really excited to see how they progress as well, like as a company. So really exciting stuff.
It's awesome because you're disrupting a very old age and health benefits insurance industry, like workplace insurance and workplace benefits. So it's a really cool company, and I'm really excited for you on that.
Right, for sure. I've only worked, like my main sort of full-time job was with a big corporation, and everything was very old school, gives you a huge booklet with your benefits listed in text form and everything. So League is definitely something very unique. And it's Canadian, so that's also great.
As for the other opportunities that you'd mentioned, where people would, for instance, take your water bottles and sell them individually, I think that's, that's something that I'd be hesitant to do. And it's, good on you for not going down that route, because in my opinion, when a business is just starting out, you're essentially building your branding. I'm familiar with your products, and I know for a fact that you've done a great job of, creating a logo, doing the packaging and all of that. It's very, very eye-catching. But what I mean is, for someone to take your products and you don't know what they're going to do with it. You don't know how they're going to showcase it. And essentially, it could be damaging to your brand, right? To your name, to the look of your brand. And so, yeah, definitely, moving forward, I would be cautious of still who you mix your products with and who you choose to collab with. But yeah, the opportunities that you're talking about, they sound very promising, and I'm really happy to hear that for you.
Yeah, those were my thoughts exactly. So yeah, I'm keeping my options open, but obviously the stuff that actually could work out, for both companies' benefit versus just, I consider that particular message as a spam, in my opinion, but I mean, who knows what could happen in the future? So yeah, open to ideas and opportunities.
All right, good on you. So we have about 10 minutes left of the room. Am I correct in thinking that, Sharky?
Yeah.
So I want to take a chance. I see a few more people joined the room, so I want to take a moment to reset the room. We are here to discuss opportunities for entrepreneurship, business ideas, and how to start your business. So welcome, Milan and Arsalan. If you have any questions about starting new business, raise your hand. Don't be shy. Come on the stage and share your thoughts.
Yep, the whole idea, entrepreneurs, support hotline. You need help, give us a shout, and everyone here will be helping you out. Entrepreneurs helping entrepreneurs. So we're starting to gain some momentum on Facebook. It's our first time doing Facebook Live. You know, I haven't really started promoting this because I want to get the technology right. But I think this can have a lot of momentum once all the marketing engine gets turning. So I hosted events before in Toronto before COVID, and there's certain elements you can do to turn up the kind of people engagement, attending, and so on. We had one event where we had over 1,000 people register, and this was like a live event. So once we have the set, we'll be turning this up and getting a lot more people, doing collaborations and partnerships with other Facebook groups and entrepreneurs and bringing them on. So this is the beginning of something great.
Thanks for hosting this, Sharky. And everyone in the group, let your friends know. Share a link next time that we invite you in. Share it with your friends and let everybody know that we're hosting this. We'd love to hear from new people coming into the group, and we're welcoming new people into the group all the time.
Yep, and then for everyone, new people that's on Facebook that joined, please introduce yourself, say hi. They used to show it, but I don't think they show it now, but I can't see who's watching on Facebook. So just say hi, like a like or something, and then post a comment below. See that our Salan joined here. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, hi Sharky, it's Arslan here. I've been following you on the group for some time, and it's great the work that you're doing and helping other entrepreneurs. I'm just here to see what people are having, like what are the problems people are having. By the way, I provide IT services, value-added deployment services, and security services. So yeah, I'm just looking around what's the problems going on with the new entrepreneurs, and maybe if possible could help and provide some sense of my advice, something like that.
Oh, that's great. And how about you? What's your biggest challenge or what's bugging you right now with your business?
Challenge right now is the team building. It's like the most important for any business. I believe that team building is the most critical part, and that's a challenge I'm facing like all the days. So even like we are scaling more in value-added services and finding the right people is of course the main and biggest challenge for I believe any entrepreneur. Once the team is aligned, I believe like then the problem is solved. The funding and all the other parts are come like I think second, right? But yeah, the challenge is definitely even this week, last month, last year is to align the best team, is to reach out to people, find the people, and then getting them on board with you. Realize like seeing them, believing in your vision is one of the key challenges that I face every day.
Amazing. That's actually my win of the week. Actually, we hire a new webinar manager. So for people that don't know, I have a dental marketing business. As part of a branch, we have a kind of dental education element of it. This is where we host webinars every single week with a top professional. It's a way to really connect and get my name out there and build connections, as well as potentially partners. So we hire someone who's really good, and she's been on over 800 webinars, and she's really good. And what I realized so I've been doing entrepreneurship for 15 years now, and this is a critical mistake I made until about 2 or 3 months ago. I started to realize this about maybe a year ago. What like the pattern that I made was that I always hire people and try to figure things out because I'm that type. I like to figure things out. You hire someone that's a junior, costs a lot lower, and then you can figure things out. And that's what I've always been doing. But what I realized in the last year is that if you hire someone that's already experienced, that can bring everything up much higher. So I was really excited when we brought this person in because she's already been in over 800 webinars. So she knows everything inside and out. So for us to go through the webinar process, it was so smooth. Like we started the webinar series during the beginning of COVID, and just it was so difficult. Like my 2 employees who were responsible for the webinars, they both left. Right, they both resigned. It's because how difficult it was, how demanding it was to set up a webinar and have everything go perfect. And I'm very demanding as a boss, so they both left. So what I learned from this is, whatever position it is, always hire someone. Pay them extra is a lot better than hire them that has experience so they can train and move a lot faster. I think that's the biggest lesson with respect to HR that I've learned over the last 15 years as an entrepreneur.
100%. You don't want to be doing everything by yourself, you know? You don't want to be doing that. It keeps you and your business down.
Totally agree. And to add that, Sharky, so we realize that it is very important for any new thing that is not under your compatibility. Definitely, as Negin says, that you cannot do everything, and to be a bigger part of to be a bigger business, you need to find those people who are smarter than you. But from the experience, I figured that hiring a smart person and leaving whole depart on him or her alone in soul is very risky. It happened with me like 3 years ago when we started our security services, and I hired like an exceptional guy from security infosec. And what happened is that after some time, we got a better opportunity, and like we have clients lined up, and it was a whole chaos. So that mistake helped me to learn new thing is that even if you hire a new webinar manager who is very experienced, find some interns, have 2 to 3 people who are very who are willing, who are passionate, who are willing to work with you for your vision, and they become a part of her team as a webinar manager. So what happened is that if even though she left or she whatever happens to what people that's the critical thing of the business, that people come and people go, and that's very risky. So what will happen is that, and what we are out of this problem is that how even if the senior guy leaves, we don't have to worry about the existing ongoing projects because these people, the other interns, are already familiar with what's going on. But definitely for newer projects, we have to have someone really super senior for that to understand the new problems and to solve it. So God forbid, if she leaves, then you will end up in a similar situation that you were before her. So my suggestion is would hire at least 1 or 2 interns, and that's how you increase the ecosystem as well. So 2 interns working with her, knowing each and everything, and then at one time, if she if you guys scale in the webinar business, then definitely that would be helping. These interns would be helping her. So to make a bulletproof system is also important for a successful business. So that's just my 2 cents to help you.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% on that. 100% on that. It's always a disruption, no matter how good or how much backup you have with that company. One thing that we do is a heavy amount of documentation. Like I force my team, I force them as much as possible to document everything on our project management, everything, and then whenever someone leaves, always have an interview with them go to record videos of them doing the process, get them to enter as much info as possible into a project management system. And I mean, that's the best way to reduce your cost. Like, I don't want to hire 3 top SEO managers. I want to hire 1 top SEO manager and 2 super junior people, some students even, so that that can get value, that they can learn from it, right? Definitely. That's
correct. Yep.
Sharky, you bring up a good point about documentation. In my field of interior design, there's always that one person in the company who just doesn't document anything. And so it's one of my pet peeves. And I I tell my team to document every bit of work. Like, just digitalize it. I don't care if the binders are exploding with paper. Just make a 2nd or 3rd binder, document that, and we need to see the progress. We need to be able to go back on notes and say what decision was made on which date, to that extent. And it's not always easy to do it as you're doing the work, but it's always an important thing to have.
Yeah, so what we do, there are people like that, and it's futile to try to force them to do something that the mind's not configured to do. And I've learned that the difficult way, right? So what we do is actually get them to record, like go through what they're doing and record it, and have someone else kind of document that and ask questions based on that. So that's our workaround with those type of people.
That sounds great. I should start doing that. I think what you're doing also, it will probably help with hiring new help, and for training purposes. Am I correct in thinking that?
Yeah. So I have this technique that I do, that I force my company, my team to do, because it causes a lot of disruption. So if you look at my project management, there's like 80 projects happening within our company. And so I try to systemize and automate as much as possible. Right? So I have a little philosophy that I do with training and documentation. So what I do is I have one person that does it, right? And that person would document everything. The second person comes in and look at the documentation in the first one. You don't talk to the first person. I don't want any communication. And this person now try to replicate the task as much as possible. And whenever there's any issues, the second person would ask the first person how to do it, right? Like by messaging or ask for video, right? And then the second person would take that content and put it in. And you keep on asking until the second person knows exactly how to do the task. Now, the first person is gone, it's out of the picture, right? Now, new person comes in, the third person comes in, and the same cycle happens. The third person look just at the documentation, asks questions, gets feedback from the second person, and updates the documentation, right? And then now the fourth person comes in. The fourth person looks at the documentation and go on. So there's a cycle that keeps on happening, and over time, the documentation gets better and better to the point where like the 8th person would no longer need to ask anything of the 7th person, right? So that's my theory and concept. I don't want them to spend the time showing them by hand how to do this, because when that happens, the person usually forgets stuff, misses stuff, and does it differently, right? If I'm teaching you how to like SEO a page, for one person I could say one thing, next person I could say the next thing, third person I could say the next thing, right? Depending on my day, depending on my attention and what I'm thinking. So I don't want any communication happening. I just want a documentation that someone looks at, know exactly what to do. Anyway, so that's my documentation process.
That's brilliant. Sharky, quick question. Do you tend to so does that minimize a lot of like calls and other unnecessary things on your day-to-day?
Yeah. I manage 25 people, and I do like really advanced stuff, right? So, and I hate doing redundant things. So that's what I try to do as much as possible.
I guess that's like a great tool for remote businesses specifically as well. When you're on a remote team, you have your team all around. it can maintain. It's like creating a production line.
100%.
Yeah.
One thing that I've done is I've jotted down how to document things so that everybody on a team documents the same way. We have the same folders, like same setup in the system, so that when we hire new people, we go through it once and then they're familiarized with it. They can go through any project or get assigned to any project that you name.
But I find the issue with that is that you just have some people. So I find it inefficient because you have some people that like doing it, some people that don't like doing it. Yeah. Then you also have 20 people learning one skill. Right. So what I try to do, this hasn't gone through yet, but what I try to do is try to have 1 or 2 people in the company learn everything, how to document stuff, and go in every single department, and then walk with them through the processes, and then document. Right. So, but I haven't. It hasn't worked out yet, but that's what I'm trying to push towards.
That's good, but I don't know how that would apply to what I'm doing, but definitely, I know there's definitely room for improvement in terms of efficiency within the company.
Yeah, it definitely depends on the process as well. I mean, there's a certain level of standardization that the whole company needs to learn, like how to use a project management. Like,
yeah,
you're not gonna have someone come in and do the project management, like update the system for you. Right? So I mean, there's certain degrees of stuff as well, right?
All right, so I'm just noticing the time, 7:05. Are there any other questions we can take right now? Sharky, is there any other topic you want to talk about? Or do you want to close up the room? Up to you. Just being mindful of everybody's time.
Yeah, see if we have any last questions or thoughts from anyone. If not, we can log off. Personally, for me, I feel this was a huge success because technically I figured everything out. I'm not sure if you guys are watching this on Facebook or not, but this took a while to kind of figure out how to stream. I've never seen Clubhouse stream to Facebook Live before.
Well, there's always a first, and you've certainly done it.
Yeah, and it worked. I mean, it looks good and everything. So I don't know. To me, this is my bigger win of the week.
Yes, I was gonna say this is Sharky's win of the day or week.
Great job,
Yeah, great job.
Thanks a lot, Sharky.
Yeah,
Thank you. Congrats.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
As we move forward, thank you, Jess. So as we move forward, and thank you everyone from Facebook that's watching, and also the people. I think the majority of people will watch after. They're not gonna watch live, but they'll watch after this.
And they'll want to join you next time you're doing this. So let's give them a heads up on that one.
Yeah, I'll give you a heads up. Make sure you come back to the group. And for all those people that don't have Clubhouse, this is your Clubhouse, right? If you have an Android phone, you don't have Clubhouse, you tune into this, and then boom, you have it, right? So yeah, and then now that we have the technology platform set, now we can start building up better content, have speakers, and have more people coming in. So yeah, bright future ahead.
Amazing. Thank you for hosting this, Sharky.
Thank you, Negin, the co-host, for being on camera. In the future, if anyone else wants to be a co-host, please let me know. If anyone wants to be a mentor / advisor, let me know. People need help with the business. So also let me or Negin know ahead of time so that we can theme each of these so we can bring you on. We have set topics so we can address your problems. Yeah, so thank you everyone for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.